This is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'm here with Donald Ross, and I pulled over, had some car troubles, and made do real quick, so I didn't miss this very important interview because you know why? It's about CRMs, Customer Relations Management, and that's worth a whole lot of money, especially if you do it right. So, hey, Donald, how you doing today?
Doing great. Sorry to hear on the car, but I understand it very well. Myself, I've got a couple in the stable, and cars seem to always be giving me trouble, even though I love them.
Well, I soon find out, once they dehorse you, everything's in your saddlebags on your horse. This is a Texas thing, okay? So just follow along with me. Everything's in your saddlebags are there. You're like, oh, where's this? Oh yeah, it's in my truck. It's in that vehicle that I don't have. So I have actually been on the phone the last 15 minutes, found a place to land so that I wouldn't miss this interview with you, because we met at a mastermind in San Antonio, and I also met your partner. And I think CRMs are very underrated. I think people make them overcomplicated sometimes, or at least should have the basics. So let's start with this. Let's get in with your background. What's your background? And then we'll start talking about the CRMs.
Sure. So for me, I was in my later years, 22, 23 time frame, and I joined the Marine Corps. That's really where a lot of this kind of started. And I joined the Marine Corps specifically because my father tried and got in an accident a couple weeks before boot camp, and so he got medically separated out. So I picked the Marine Corps, joined, did that in 2007. Did that for 7 years and did some deployments. Part of one of my jobs was I actually was part of the contracts department and had to manage the contracts for the entire base of North Carolina. And so I built an access database, which anybody that really knows the back end of Podio and what we use is kind of very similar to that. So I learned how to YouTube University and teach myself how to do some of that. And I always wanted to go to school for computer science, but I never went to college for that. I wound up doing the Marine Corps instead. So thankfully, after I came out of the Marine Corps, I got all my digits and everything that came with me. And so it was a great time. I wound up getting medically retired out after I blew out my back from there. And so from there, I wound up actually building out a CRM. It was about a year and a half after I got out off of Podio. And that was kind of the big rant and rave of the thing that everybody was using 4 or 5 years ago. And so I figured out how to use it and how to code it, and wound up taking myself into that, and kind of where we are today is from that.
Well, first things first, man, thank you for your service. All of my family are jarheads. So while I did not serve myself, I have been through a lifetime of boot camp. So yes, sir, no, sir. Thank you, sir. And if I didn't, you got slapped upside the head. So but I'm actually very appreciative of that discipline, because it's taken me places that probably would have never ended up, just because, I don't know, they kind of teach you how to act, right?
Oh, yeah. And my dad was a perfectionist. He owned a hot rod collector car shop, and I helped growing up, and he was doing high-end shows where it mattered. Every little detail mattered. I mean, when they got into the high-end shows, they would start pulling off pieces off the car to make sure it was that original. And so when I got to the Marine Corps, I was like, and I've been through this all my life. Good luck.
Yeah. You don't need to retrain me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thanks for the service. Without you guys, I don't even know. Well, we wouldn't be where we're at all. We couldn't even do what we do. So that's the biggest thing. So how did you end up in real estate, or did this lead you to real estate, or are you in real estate and it led you to the CRM? How did it happen?
Sure. So when I was a young punk, 18, out of high school, and had no idea what I wanted to do with my life when I graduated, I literally opened up the old phone book and decided to start calling construction companies in the summer. I wanted to work, I wanted to make money, and started calling them. And I was lucky enough that one of them said, come down and see me. And I went down and talked to him, and wound up that he's basically said, hey, go get a tool belt and show up tomorrow. And so I worked in construction for almost 4 years before I joined the Marine Corps. Did big, for us, big houses. It was basically small side of 4,000 square feet, and the biggest one was 12,000 square feet, all new builds. And it was all him. He bought the land, and then the people were building the houses. It was all custom houses, and most of them were out on the lake out by us in Wisconsin. A lot of people from Illinois for summer houses, lake houses, things like that.
Yeah. So, is that what opened your eyes to real estate? This guy's building one-off houses for people. He's not doing spec. He's doing custom homes, right? So,
Right.
was that a cost plus kind of job for him, or do you even know?
No, it was, and he did quite well for himself, and we were a small little crew, and there was 5 of us, but it was a tight knit family, and it opened my eyes at least to the development and buying land and making money from that side of the house. But, until I got out of the Marine Corps in 2014, that was really when I started kind of my journey of the real estate investment side and what I want to further doing with buying houses remotely.
Okay, so tell me about your first deal. I mean, when did you do your first deal on your own, or when did you do a deal that you originated?
It would have been 2014. I think it was roughly June, July timeframe. And it wound up being in California. I was doing deals in Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin, lived there for 21, 22 years. So I knew the market somewhat. Wound up actually doing a lease option of all things. And that's what I wanted from California. So
from California.
From
okay.
California. I did it in Wisconsin. It was a fairly large house for Wisconsin. It was like a 3,500 square foot house. And it was a cop looking for a good spot for his family to be a little bit further out in the suburbs.
And do you remember the numbers on that deal?
I remember what I made because it was my first check. Other than that, I don't remember everything, but it was roughly,
but I'm interested in that. What did you make?
$4,500.
And how long did it take?
That one was almost 3 weeks. Not too bad.
And was that a lot of money to you at the time?
Absolutely. I was working as a government contractor, if you will, at the time for Northrop Grumman. I was negotiating contracts for the F-18 program. And at the time I made good money, 70 grand a year, but that $4,500 on my own was huge.
Yeah. I tell people, it's not about the amount you make on your first deal. It's just that you make anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you go out there, you do it on your own, and you go do it, because that's kind of the proof in the pudding that this is doable and you can do it again. And it's like what was it? The 4-minute mile, no one could break it until Bannister broke it. And then everybody started breaking it because all of a sudden it was doable. It's that same kind of,
it was a big enough deal to me that up on the top of my desk up here, I have a fresh $1 bill that I framed from that check when I cashed it. My dad had did it when he did his business. And so I did it for mine for the first kind of dollar that was made.
I think that's wonderful. I think it's beautiful. It's like a gate opener, and once you get in the gate, like there's no going, you're going to stay out there, you're going to stay in that path because you're not going back.
I'll do whatever it takes.
So, finding deals has gotten really competitive with A&E and flip this everything. And, everyone's a house flipper these days. It seems like it's almost incredible. And a lot of people are under the illusion, because of these shows, A&E followed me around for about 3 weeks, and they didn't pick me because I didn't have any problems. They said, "You're too smooth, man. Everybody likes you. There's no arguments." Like
need the drama.
I said we can make it. I said it's all made up anyways. We make it up. But anyways, I'm really glad that it didn't happen, because I had a really big year that took me in a direction that I'm really glad I went. And but it's so competitive these days that just sending out postcards and answering them to get a house, that's even purportedly not working right now as well as it used to. People have dropped that just to start calling directly. We kind of use an offshoot of that. We have outbound calling to get to talk to those people, and if they have a property that we're really interested in, then we put them on the mailing list after we've contacted them and we've decided, because mailings can be expensive. The other thing about the mailings is every now and then we'll do a 10,000 mailer in San Antonio, Texas, where there's 2 million people, give or take. And we don't really do it to get a call from the postcards. If we do, great, we got a bonus. We're doing it for the return postcards, and we want to, out of 10,000, we'll get 300 to 450 return postcards, then we go to work, because if our postcard didn't get to this person, neither did anybody else. And so these 400 people are sitting out here unknown to the world where they're at, and we get excited about that. But right now we have over 8,000 people in our CRM. Okay, so talk to us about CRM. First of all, CRM stands for Customer Relations Management. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
I'm not very good with acronyms most of the time. I always get one left.
Dang, military's got an acronym for an acronym.
Yeah, an acronym for that. That's pretty funny. And so the one thing I know for sure from, you can hear things and people can tell you things, and that's one thing. But then when you start doing it and then you start seeing it happen, pretty much like what they're telling you, now it becomes earned by you. You earn that knowledge. You know that data. We're buying houses in the 6th, 7th, 8th touch, and that requires a follow-up system. And you can automate a follow-up system, and that's what Donald, do they call you Don or Donald?
Donald.
Donald, okay. That's what Donald is gotten good at, and it wants to share with you, because you do not have to go out and reinvent the wheel. There are people out there that have already done this. You just need to tap in to one that suits your needs. And then I'm going to figure, Donald, that they can modify it as they need it, if they need to, either through you, or they can hire a Podio expert and you just tell them what to do. My biggest shout out here is, don't go learn how to do it yourself. Unless it's just you and that's what you're drawn to do. But for the most part, if you got in the house business, don't get in the programming business. Sub it out to Don or somebody. So where do we start? Where do we start with this CRM?
Yeah, the CRM for sure. It's one of those things where it is an important thing to have, and a lot of people either A, don't have one, or B, they get down into the rabbit hole in the black hole of trying to figure it out themselves. And before they know it, they look up and 6 months went by and the marketing didn't go out, and, they haven't gotten the deals done. So for us, we put together what we needed for our own business. We wholesale out in Wisconsin, flip things here and there, but try to do mostly the wholesale, and then some retail with the brokerage. And we built out the Podio platform that we now call Beast Mode for that. And what we were doing, and a lot of what we do, is direct mail, texting, ringless, and a little bit of cold calling. So from that, we need to be able to bring in those prospects. And for the ones that raised their hand and said, either A, hey, let's set up an appointment now, I'm interested, what do you got? Or for those that said, I'm not ready just yet, come call me in the spring, call me 3 months from now, whatever the case may be. You've got to have a very easy way to put something into a system where it's going to raise its hand when it's time to call them back. And if you forget to call them back when you say that you're going to, you've probably lost that rapport that you built and that trust that you built. If you tell them you're going to do something, you need to do it on that date or around that time that you said you were going to do it. So for us,
that means a lot when you show up on time, do what you said you're going to do, because your trust factor just went up with them. But let's just back up, because you went over that pretty fast, and I want to make it simple for the new folks out there.
Sure.
It's just, in the old days, we used to have call-up files, and it was like 12 files for this year, 12 files for next year, and 12 files for the year after that. There was 36 files. And if someone said, call me in May of next year, we'd take the information sheet, the property sheet, and we'd put it in May of 2020, and every month we go up to that file. So now it's just automated, okay? But it's way more than that, because the part that you breezed over was there's email, there's physical mail, there's physical phone calls, there's voice drop, and there's text. Did I get them all?
Yeah.
I might have left some. Yeah. Okay, so what you can do is you can program for your acquisition person or you to say, it's time to call Mr. Smith on 123 Main Street. Here's the data that you've collected so far to refresh your memory. Then it's like he's already been sent this text saying this. He's already been sent a letter saying this, and you're touching them. You don't want to, I don't know, there's two different theories on this. This is my theory. Tell me what you think. you don't want to beat the hell up. You don't want to beat these guys up with this stuff. You just want to touch them once every 3 or 4 weeks just to let them know that you're serious and that they don't forget you. And one of my favorite things to do is when we talk to someone, we send them a hard physical contract. It gives us a lot to talk about because we need excuses to contact them. You know, text, did you get my contract? Email, if you didn't get it, you know, here's a digital copy. You know, a lot of reasons to touch people, but I like to send the physical piece out after we talk to them, making an offer, whether they like my offer or not, whether they've already chewed me out. Some people get mad at me, I still send them the contract. And we end up buying those houses sometimes 6, 8, 9, 12 months later. I think the longest someone's ever held one of our contracts and called us back was 5 years.
Wow.
Because I've been in the business like 22 years, so I've had the chance for that to happen to me. And you ask why me? And I actually, you know, in the notes it says this is a guy that ran you off the porch and told you to get off his property and was cussing at you because he didn't like your offer. You know, so beware. And I'm reading that, and this guy's saying, hey, I want to take you up with your offer. I'm going like, why me? Why did you pick me? He said, you're the only guy that took the time to send a real contract. And this is a guy that was yelling at me before. So how are you using the CRM? How often do you recommend we touch people? And does it dribble off, or does it get further and further spans as you go, or do you stay consistent?
Yeah, so the way that it's set up out of the box is with text and the ringless voicemails. We've got scripting already built into it for prior to an appointment if you've never gone out, and then some that if you've gone to an appointment, you can pick. Once you pick that drip, it'll automatically select the dates and it'll start pushing out text and or ringless voicemails. Typically it's every 3 to 5 weeks, and it does dribble in between. But that's, again, similar, you know, what you were saying, 3 to 5 weeks is kind of when we push it out. For us, our direct mail cycle was every 6 weeks. We will send out mail. So in between the direct mail and that, it seems to keep in front of them to where they're not forgetting who you are. And when that decision happens, they do come back to you because they remember you didn't give up, you kept in front of them, but it wasn't to a point where you were being annoying and in their face every other day. And that's a fine line, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's worked really well for us. As you mentioned, as you brought up, we've had people where straight up they were marked as removed from list, they were screaming at us, and then 4 or 5 months later, they're calling us back and they want to go ahead and proceed. So you just never know. You've got to shoot your shot and see what happens and put it out there.
Yeah. On the ones that were screaming at us sometimes that we knew were in trouble, that something had to give. There was going to happen one way or the other. They just hadn't come to the conclusion that their ship was sinking, you know, like, but I can tell, we knew, you know. Right. So once we remove them from our list, we have a backup CRM, and they started getting solicited by someone else that's still us.
Yeah, sure.
But it doesn't look like us.
Right.
So
yeah, for us, we did a lot of direct mail. And so if they were calling in, we knew exactly what mail piece they were calling off of, simply because we have platforms like CallRail or others that are out there where, hey, for homeowners that are high equity or homeowners that are tax default, this is the phone number that we put on the mail piece. And so we know exactly why they're calling. And in our area, there's a sale date that's the same pretty much every year. And so we know when it comes up to that time frame, hey, they've got to make a decision. It is what it is. We're trying to help. We're not trying to just go out there and take it away. We want to help them, but they've got to make a decision and let us help them.
Yeah, it's a funny thing though. So many people put their head in the sand, and they will not admit that they're going to need help till 3 or 4 or 5 days before the D-Day, you know. And it's like, well, man, you really got us, everybody in a corner now. You know what I mean? Like, we're scrambling around. So tell us about, well, I find that a lot of people don't know what ringless voice drop is. So let's talk about that. That's just a voicemail, a phone call that actually 2 calls go out at the same time, split seconds apart. One gets the phone to ring, the other one is right behind it, hits the busy signal, drops into the voicemail, then the ring ends before the phone even rings. This happens in milliseconds. And so you're just dumped in. It's a way to get into voicemail without a ring of your prospect's phone.
Right.
And now it's an automated message that's dropped, and it can be done hundreds of times a day or thousands of times a day, I guess, depending on the phone police.
Right.
And how you handle it.
Yeah, the way that we handle it is similar with, we use a service that basically it drops, it puts it through at two at the same time, pretty much, to where it drops that voicemail. For us, it's not a big company. So the voicemail is hemming and hawing, road noise in the back. We're just small town home buyers. We're reaching out. Don't know if you have anything or not. If you do, give us a call. The other thing that we'll do is that caller ID that shows up on their phone, on their voicemail, is typically a virtual number like CallRail. But the other thing that we've done is we've actually left a different phone number in the voicemail than what we are showing as our caller ID, because we know that if they call back that number that we gave, it was a verbal phone number that we gave. We call it the mobile phone. If they listen to that and call it back, we know that they actually listened to the voicemail, because it's not the number that showed up on their caller ID. So that's another little tip, trick, hack that you can put out there and try. The other thing, when they call back in, there's some difference of opinion. Some like to live answer them, some don't, because it is typically a lot of callbacks of, why are you calling me, and or angries, how'd you get my number, things like that. So for us, we've always used a phone tree of press 1 to talk to somebody, press 9 to be removed from the list. If they press 9, it's a voicemail. They leave their name and then their address, and we can remove them. If they press 1, live answer. Some of our clients actually live answer. I'll tell you, for us, it's always gone to a voicemail, and we're calling them back.
I really like to shield my people from the negativity as much as possible, because even though they might be thick-skinned, it does wear on you.
For sure.
Some of these people are quite nasty. They're quite upset.
Yeah. And I mean, you can get down to the people, they're in tough situations. So rationale sometimes is out the window. And you try to get your people away from that. Even a hard head like me out of the Marine Corps, it wears on you. I answered the phones personally for almost 1.5 years, and you get your fair share.
Yeah, it doesn't make you a very good salesman when you start getting jaded. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you need to have only calls that matter, and people that are wanting to deal with you. We try to shield everything else so that they're having a pleasant experience, and they're very good. I used to answer my own phones too. I used to get like 50, 60 phone calls a day. By the end of the week, it's like, they say, hey, how much is that house for rent? And I'm going, hey, you asshole, where the hell did it say rent on that sign? Slam. And like, I'm the worst salesman ever in the world, because I've just had it up to here with people that can't read English. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But let's talk about, now in mass text messaging, you can do like mail merge like we do on emails. You can say in a text, hey, John, I'm still interested in the house at 123 Main Street. You can put in the variables, so it's very personable. One of the things that doesn't happen in voice drop is it's very hard, ringless voice drop. You can't really make that personal, because you can't, there's no way to mimic your voice,
Right.
that wouldn't be noticeable.
Right.
If it's even been tried. I think no one even tries, because it's not worth trying. But so what happens is you got to use your voice drop to refer to the personal email. And then, so here's an example. Take it however you want to. You could say, you could send out, 8,000 text messages to people who say, hey, John, or hey, first name, I'm still interested in property address. And they all get like this personal letter. Hey, John, I'm still interested in your house at 567 Main Street. Is it still available? And then you send out a ringless voice drop saying, hey, did you get my text? Hey, did you get my text? This is Mitch. Did you get my text yesterday? See, now he thinks that voice drop's real, because it's referred to something that was very personal. Or, hey, did you get the contract I sent you in the mail?
That's it. And our wording is like that.
You got to take the voice drop and tie it to something that was personal, because you can't really make a personal voice drop.
And that's it. And we do that with our, the wording of how our scripting is set up. It is set up and timed so that if a text message drops after a voicemail, it will bring reference to a voicemail that was left and things like that. Absolutely. And then they start to think, okay, well, this guy is really persistent and he's a little bit different than the others. And, from that, we've got plenty of people, including ourselves, where they've said, hey, I just got a contract. The guy called a year after I went to the appointment. He just said things change and you don't seem to go away and you're different from the others.
Yes, but look at this. This is all happening in the background, automated, while you're having your lunch meeting with your banker or sleeping or working out or whatever it is you got to do that day. These things are going out. And the most important thing is that it's become a science. It's become scientific. It's become an art form. And Donald and his partner have set out to make it seem highly personal. They cannot tell that you did not send the text yourself and that you did not drop the voicemail yourself. And that's the key, because no one likes being part of an automated system.
Right.
The minute I answer the phone and I can hear a phone room in the background, I'm hanging up. I don't even want to know who it is. The minute that I hear that I've been connected to you know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Pick up the phone and go, hi, is this Mr. Stephen? And you can hear everyone in the background, 500 people asking 500 other people, hey, are you so-and-so? It's like, I'm in a phone room. I'm out of here.
Yeah, and that's it. And so for us, we have found, especially because we're Midwestern market, Wisconsin, it's farm country. People want to be belly to belly with you. They want to be personal with you. So anytime they feel that you're the small hometown guy, you're just a regular Joe, you're not just some big corporation, they'll give you the time of day. And for us, that happens to be true. So, some of these other guys that are doing remote stuff and they are the bigger company, it's something where you've got to, in my opinion, play the lower of the two. And you've got to show that you are that small hometown buyer for the Midwestern markets. And, we've tried the branding approach versus the unbranded and small hometown buyer. And for us, it was always small hometown buyer that won out. And the more personalized direct mail pieces that were not just the run of the mill, in your face, corporate styled logo and everything just worked better for us. There was a time where we had 75 phone numbers and we tracked every single mail piece to see what worked, what colors worked. All that stuff was tracked for us for over a year and a half. And we're not the only ones. We got friends that did the same thing. And we found that the personalized letters and the ones that showed like a family photo and things like that did well for us.
Yeah, so what I've been contemplating, and I went a different route. We started 9 months ago trying to set up our own CRM. We're still got 2 months to go, which will be 3 months undoubtedly, because that's how it works. I spent $12,000 so far. I'm just telling the audience my experience, but it's completely customized to my office, and I get it. And if it ever gets finished, it's going to be great. But like, it's been the most frustrating thing in the world. And we hired a Podio expert. And if I'd had it to do over again, I would tap into someone else's system and have gotten on with it. But one of the things that we're trying to do, and get this, you might want to try it. We're trying to code these people's personality, blue, green, red. And there's 4 different types of messages. And we try to talk to them in their language. And it really makes a difference. Really makes a difference. I tried to buy a house from a guy one time for a year. I'll make the story short, but his wife his daughter had 8 babies from 8 fathers they don't know who.
Okay.
And they're keeping track. They haven't kicked her out. They didn't shun her. They're trying to keep up with all these babies in their house and taking care of them all. Every time they come, and the house got too small, and someone from the church gave them a big house, and now they moved out, and the house that they had was almost paid for, and there's no one in it, and I want to buy it. And I cannot connect with this guy. For a year, I've been trying to buy his house. I did an interview with a guy named Hartman, and he was talking about color coding people. Yep. And right when I finished that interview, my phone went off and said, it's time to call that guy again that owns that house whose daughter has 8 kids that the church gave him a house. And I thought, this guy's a blue. He's a blue. He's charitable. He's giving. He's got patience beyond no end. He has compassion. He's all this stuff. And so, as luck would have it, I knew someone who needed to live in that neighborhood. And I called him up. And this time, instead of quoting him numbers like I read or talking to him in a business guy, I said, look, you still got that house over there. He said, yeah. I said, look, I got this family that needs help. They need to live in that part of town, but they can't afford to live in that part of town, but they can't afford to live away from his job. And grandma lives over there and takes care of the kids. Anyways, I gave him all these compassionate reasons to say yes, and I bought the house in an hour.
Yep. And so for us, it's funny you say that. For us in the appointment area within our CRM, we have what that is: red, blue, green, or red, blue, yellow, and the different colors for the disc profiles.
You got the 4 personality. You've got them coded, so you know how to send out how do you talk. And then, this requires more work, because now you have to create 4 very well thought out different kind of messages talking in, reds. Engineers want lots of numbers. They need facts. They need data. They want lots of pieces of paper. They want a whole file. So you have to think about these 4 different messages. But if you really want to up your game, send out messages that are designed for the kind of personality that you're talking to. Absolutely. And this is where I say this has become a science. And to sit down and originate this stuff yourself is probably not something you want to do unless you're just an enthusiast in that direction. But so you guys have a CRM, and it's $197 a month. If you want to learn more about this CRM and everything I do, I'm sure you guys have videos that show, or you have webinars or whatever. Go to reinvestorsummit.com/beast, BEAST. Okay, go there. Also, if you're not ready for a full-on CRM right now, they have a free, simple CRM. You can get your hands on that and just kind of delve into what it might be like if you actually had some automation in your life. And believe me, if you're a one-man show, there's 2 things you need: an automated CRM and a VA. Okay, I don't care who you are. If you're a one-man show, you're actually bragging about you do it all yourself. That's like bragging about I don't know how to read or write. Come on, get a CRM, get that little bit of automation will help you, and get a VA. VAs can do 100 things for you that you don't need to be doing. I'm right on the money here, aren't I, Donald?
That's it. I mean, for me, that's when things changed drastically. I mean, for us, we were able to hand off some of the things that were mundane, but have to get done. There's a lot of things that in our business, hey, if you do them consistently, and part of that is the follow-up, and some of that other is the marketing. You do these things consistent, then the doors start opening, and hey, you're actually able to do it full-time rather than a part-time deal as trying to make it work. And that's the big difference, is just being able to kind of multiply yourself and not necessarily having to pay for a full-time employee to make that happen. It's the system is doing it. And if you were to try to pay somebody $197 to do your follow-up like the system does, good luck. I mean, even in the Philippines, it'd cost you more than that to have a Philippine do the follow-up. So let the system do a large amount of the work for you, and then get yourself an assistant, a VA, to help with the rest.
And it's like anything else. It's a little front end heavy. You got to get in, get it organized, spend some time with it, like get it set up. You got to get that train on the track. You got to get it full of coal. You got to get it fired up. You got to get it moving. But you can jump off that train. It's still going to go down the track. Yeah. So everything's like that. Take a week or a couple of weeks, or say, this is the month I solved the CRM. That month goes by, the CRM thing's solved. You move on to the next part of your office or system that you want to do. They're like little Lego blocks. You get this one done, it's running, okay, I can leave it. You got to check in on it every now and then, but it's done. And then you get another piece. There's a few things that you can sub out real easy. One is, if you're doing your own books, stop. If you're a small business, it's going to be a small bill. It's relative. You get a whole bunch of businesses, you get a big bill. I mean, today my bookkeeping bill is $18,000, for the year. But it's nothing. My business can handle it. It's proportionately the same as when I had one house and my bill was $100. It's proportionately the same. The other thing is closings. Normally we close at title companies, but get a closer. But if you don't, you can get an attorney to do your closings. You pay a fee, but you're not wasting that time. The big thing there is, the next 2 things is CRMs and VA. CRM and a VA. Those are things that you can get right off the bat. If you don't delegate as much as you can before you can get employees, real employees.
Right.
You have to delegate as much as you can, because you're working below your pay grade in most circumstances doing a lot of this stuff.
entrepreneurs running around like they got a fire hat trying to put fires out everywhere. And at the end of the day, the important part that was, one of the things you said there is the one thing. Come up with one thing that for the month is the theme. That is the important thing. That's been a huge difference. Even in the last year, I focused on, okay, this month is this, and the next month is this. There's a book called Traction that a bunch of guys rant and rave about. I love it, but they say 90-day rocks where it's a 90-day thing. Personally, I like 30-day. 30-day is something that makes it to where this month, this is all I focus on. And if I get this done, we did really well, and I know we're moving forward. And that's been huge for me. I mean, the last year for, Beast Mode alone, just that one business, we've literally had a 250% increase. And now we're at, 850 plus members at this point, just from focusing on the right things and growing from there. And it works across real estate, works across any business. You got to focus on one thing, move the ball, and then go on to the next. And sure, there's plenty of fires that are there, but a lot of it is white noise, and you've got to be able to focus on one thing and kind of move that ball.
Okay, so what's in store for 2020?
For us, we're going to kind of proceed forward with Beast Mode. We've got boards being built out. So the guys that are visual, we've got Clipfolio, which is the screen monitors that you see a lot of places have to kind of be able to visually see how your leads are doing, things like that. We've got that built out. Those that are texting, we've got the integrations with the texting platforms out there. So, some of them, to name a few, are Sherpa and Launch Control, but those ones we have an integration with. And simply put, you've got to be able to prospect and bring that gold in and then figure out what to do with it within the platform. We're just growing on what we already do really well and basically trying to keep it simple. So for us, the big thing has always been, hey, we've got one app, work out of that one app, the Property Lead app. And from there, we're just going to refine what we do. We're never trying to make it the Swiss Army knife that does everything. It's got to be very simple, be able to continuously use it and not have, hey, it needs 10 different buttons pushed to make X, Y, Z happen. That's the biggest thing. We've been down that path. That is not a good path to go down because it winds up being you, the operator, that can only press all the buttons in the right order to make it happen.
Yeah, you got to keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So, hey, just for the record, I own Livecom. We're a mass texting, fixing to be voice drop. If you ever want to take a look or things aren't working out with where you're at, but we'd love to talk to you about the possibilities.
Love to.
Yeah. Same thought processes. I was trying to get the same thing done,
Sure.
We have recordings and by phone numbers and forwarding, and we have all different kinds of, instant call connect. Like if you got a house that's not moving, you just turn on the instant call connect, and when people are listening to the recording, my salesman gets a text saying, someone from this phone number is listening to the recording on 123 Main Street right now. So
gotcha.
So we put a lot of thought into it too, and it does. It's not a completely new idea. None of them are completely new, but we've honed it down to specific things that we're trying to accomplish in this industry. So it might be interesting to you. Man, I really want to thank you for taking the time. You guys go to reinvestorsummit.com/beast, BEAST, and go ahead and at least get your simple CRM down there and check out what it does, and talk to these folks about getting a more robust CRM, Beast Mode. And what is it? It's like $197 a month. It's really, really affordable. What does it take? One deal and you bought this thing for 40 years, So don't trip over the pennies on the way to the dollars here. You need a CRM. It takes one deal or a half a deal a year, one deal every 4 years to not for this not to be an issue. It's actually stupid to even contemplate not having a CRM. So there's so much competition out there. They start selling to the people that are recurring, that keep showing up. The people that knock on the door one time and leave, they don't get, they're just looking to get lucky.
Yeah, we tracked the numbers. It was 30 to 40% of our annual was from the follow-up.
Yeah, that's a huge number. All right, my friend, anything you want to say to the new and ambitious, maybe young entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Get out there, get your feet wet. It is definitely scary, but as far as taking a step, move one step forward, take another, And, you put the pieces together, and between Mitch and others that are out there, they'll help you come along the way and figure it out. But you got to take that step. Without taking that first step, there is no moving forward. So get out there and get into it.
One step at a time. All right, this is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'd like to thank Donald Ross for being with us today, and I'd like to thank all y'all for listening in. Do me a favor, go out there and give us a 5-star rating or some kind of star rating anyways, and help us promote. We get about 17,000 downloads a month for this podcast, which is pretty dang good, but we can always stand to be introduced to some new people. If you have a friend, share it with somebody. I appreciate all the help you guys want to give me. So we're out here trying to help people get educated, really light on the sales and a lot on the content, as you saw. And I think that's why people stay with us, is because while there's always something to buy or something to add to plug into your business, we're trying to deliver as much content as we possibly can. And some of you guys will go out and do a lot of stuff on your own. And if you're like in that 2% that really doesn't need anybody, more power to you. You can get your whole education out there on the internet, but you will pay a certain amount. You're going to pay the street one way or the other. If you don't get some help, you will pay the street, and the street sometimes can be ruthless. So be careful about that. All right, Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Summit podcast. We're out of here.